Hi everyone, so in today's video I'm gonna speak about factorizing trinomials. Now first thing I want you to know what I'm gonna give you an example of a trinomial, and I think I might actually use this one. So two examples of trinomials. So we've got x squared minus x minus 6. That's a trinomial. So the way I remember this is that they have three terms. One of them is squared, so it makes it a trinomial. So, and we can have something like this. Okay, so again, three terms, one of them is squared. So now we're gonna factorize these two. The bit about this, it's not straightforward which things do we multiply together to get to this, but we have seen things that look like that after we multiplied brackets. So I will leave my video with multiplying brackets in the corner over there, because these two can be answers when we actually multiply two brackets together. So I'm actually going to go back a couple of pages from here and I'm going to show you things like this. See, when you get two brackets multiplied together, your final answer is a trinomial. So this is what we're going to be working on today. We're going to see if we can find a way to factorize these two to get the two lovely brackets. Now, the first thing that I want, and I'm actually going to write this first one here again, because I'm going to call this example A. If this one wants to write. Yes, it does. So I'm going to call this one example A. So I've got x squared minus x minus 6. Now the first and most important bit to find or to look for in here is the x squared there. That x squared actually means that we have two brackets that start with x. It's very important. They are of this form. It could just be x minus 0 if something happens, so I don't really have the first bracket, but I should have two of these, and these should start or have an x in both of them, because otherwise I won't get the x squared. So that's like a little observation, and then we have to be sure we get to something related to this. Now another little observation I want to make, and I think I'm gonna write with blue, is that this expression, the x squared minus x minus 6, is actually of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where we have a is whatever number I have in front of x squared. Now in this case, you could potentially tell me that there is absolutely no number in front of x squared, but that's a bit wrong, because we do actually have a number in front of x squared, and that is 1, because this tells me I have 1x squared, so I do have the 1 in front there. B is whatever I have in front of x, and again you could just be like, but in front of x is just a minus. That's true, but again, if I don't have a number, I do still need to think that I have 1x, so I've put the negative 1, and hopefully C is the one that's going to be a bit easier to spot, because it's just a negative 6. Okay, now I've put these things on the side because I do recommend you always take a look at these ones, because they are always going to help you find out the numbers that I need to put in my brackets. So first of all, I kind of know they should be starting with an x, both of my brackets. and then there's something else that should be at the end over there, and most of the time those two things multiply together to give me the last number I have here. So that's a bit of a tip, but something needs to happen with the a as well. So whatever number I have in front of x squared is also going to influence whatever numbers I have in here. Also the b, whatever I have in front of x, is going to influence those numbers as well, because I always do x times that and then whatever I have here times that to give me this term. So there are a couple of things that I need to be very careful when I choose what numbers go in the bracket. So the method to do this is, first of all, I always look at the b. And I always look at a times c. Now for this one it could be like, oh, but that's a 1, it's -6, so it doesn't actually change much. True, but they are actually going to help me a lot. So what I need to do next is I need of two numbers that multiply to give me -6 and the same two numbers that add to give me 6. To give me 1, sorry. So the way I go over this is like, I think one number multiply to give me 6 first, and then how can I change those numbers to get -6? So numbers that multiply to give me 6 are 1 and 6, and then 2 and 3. So these are the pairs of numbers that multiply to give me 6. But then I need -6. So I could have a -1 and a 6, or I could have a 1 and a -6. Now the same goes with 2. I can have a -2 and a 3, or I can have a 2 and a -3. So again, any of these ones multiply to give me -6. Now the issue is I need to add these two numbers to give me -1. So if I do -1 add 6, that gives me 5. If I do 1 take away 6, that gives me -5, so it's not the first two. -2 plus 3, that gives me 1. And then 2 take away 3, that gives me -1. So the one that I'm actually looking for is the last one. So this is the pair that I'm looking for, because these two numbers follow what I'm looking for. So they multiply together to give me -6, and they add together to give me -1. And now comes the fascinating things, which is going back from multiplying brackets. So I'm gonna rewrite my expression. And I have to do something with the 2 and the 3. And I'm gonna be like, look, when I normally multiply brackets, I've got two terms that have x. And I'm going to put these two numbers and make the two terms that have x. So this 2 there is going to give me the 2x. And this 3 there is going to give me the -3x. So I'm actually going to rewrite the -1 as a 2x take away a 3x. So a 2x take away a 3x. And then I copied the rest of the things. It's a positive 2x. So this -x there became these two things. Now, so far, so good. And now comes the bit that I've done in my last video on just factorizing. I look at the first two, and I look at the last two. And there is a common factor in the first two, and there is a common factor in the next two. So my common factor in the first two is x. So I'm left with an x plus 2. And my common factor in the next two is actually -3. And I've got x plus 2. Now should be a revelation. Surprise, surprise, we've got exactly the same bracket. Yay! Because this is what we were looking for. We want brackets, so we've got a bracket. It's actually the same bracket, so I can be like, oh, I can take x plus 2 as my common thing on both of this, so it's my common factor. And then what do I have left? I'm left with an x and I'm left with the -3. Hip hip hooray, I've got the 2 brackets. I'm like, yay, how, what, I've done it. I've done it. And now I actually want to do a check of this, and I want to go pretty slowly with it so you can see why I've done all of these steps. So I'm gonna do the check just under here, and we're gonna see, which I think it's quite wonderful. So remember from multiplying brackets what I used to say. I used to say we do x times everything from this one and 2 times everything on this one. So that's what I used to do. Or if I want to write the brackets the other way around, I do x times everything on that one and -3 times everything on that. So I'm actually gonna do this bracket times that because it will look really great. So bear with me. So I do this times that, and then I do this times that. So let me explain and write it what I'm actually doing. I'm going to do x times x plus 2, and I'm actually going to do -3 times x plus 2. Surprise! This is exactly this step. This is this step. It's exactly the same thing that I'm doing. So I go x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 6. So again, this is exactly this step. It's exactly the same thing, just the other way around. And then I look at these 2 things in the middle, and I've got x squared minus x minus 6, which is exactly what we started with. So this method is basically multiplying brackets the other way around. I find this fascinating. Just the fact that they match so nicely, it just blows my mind. So we actually have exactly the same steps, just the other way around. It just fascinates me. So even though this looked a bit dodgy at the start, like why do I need to know this A, B, and C? It's confusing, but it actually made the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, just the other way around. So I find this fascinating. If you're not as excited as I am, sorry, but I got very excited when I first discovered this idea and this way of thinking about this question, because I used to do it a bit differently. So I'm going to put the steps here because I think they're very important, and up to this day I never miss any of the steps. So we need to find the A, B, and C, so whatever we have in front of each. And the second bit, I would say we'll look for A, C, and B, and we find factors of AC, because that's what we were looking on this side. The third step would be split the middle term. The one that has x, so that's this one, with whatever we got here. I think I'm going to write here. So we've got a common factor. I'm actually going to write factors because we do have one for the first two and one for the next two. And then the last bit is to get the final brackets. Final two brackets. Again, I think this is fascinating just from the fact that it matches so nicely. And you can see expanding brackets and factorizing are just the opposite of each other. It follows the same idea, and I think it's awesome. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to do another example. I'm actually going to try to factorize this one, and you're going to see how this little a here, this little 3 in front actually changes everything, and it makes it even more interesting. So I'm just going to write on this side. What did I have? 3x squared minus 13x minus 10. Okay, so I'm going to call this B. So I've got 3x squared minus 13x minus 10. So I'm going to follow my steps. First step was to find the A, B, and C. So A is 3, B is negative 13, C is negative 10. My second step was to actually look at A, C, and B. So AC is 3 times negative 10, which is negative 30. Oh, wow, that's a big number. And B is negative 13. Now I need to find all the factors of AC. Now I feel like, okay, let's go with it. It looks like a 3 and a 10. Maybe it's not. Okay, so I'm gonna go with 1 and 30, but because I wanted negative, I can have negative 1 or negative 30. That's obviously not gonna work. Then I want 3 and 10, so I can have negative 3 or negative 10. Oh, that doesn't work either, because I need negative 13. What else? 2 and 15. So I'm going to go 2, 15 with the negative 2 and the negative 15. Oh, I think I found it. This is going to give me negative 13 when I add them up. To be fair, I'm not going to do any others, because if I add these two up, 2 take away 15 gives me negative 13. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm actually going to stop here. I could go on and put what other numbers multiply to give me 30. 5 and 6. But because I found it already, I don't need to do anything else. So 3x squared minus 13x minus 10. So this 2 and 15 are going to help me look at the negative 13 there and split it. I can split 2x and a negative 15. 2x and the negative 15x. I'm looking at the first two and the last two. So first two, common factor. Oh, it's just the x. Okay, so I've got the 3, the x, and the 2. Okay, and this one, we've got a negative because they're both negatives. 5, negative 5. So I've got 3, the x, and plus 2. Oh, lovely. This is my nice bracket. So I've got 3x plus 2, x minus 5. Yay! Great! So I can do a little check, just because I love showing all the steps like that. And I'm gonna go with 3x plus 2, x minus 5. And again, I want to do the second bracket just because I want it to look exactly the same. So I'm gonna do x brackets 3x plus 2 and then minus 5 brackets 3x plus 2. So this gives me 3x squared plus 2x minus 15x minus 10, which gives me 3x squared minus 13x minus 10. Exactly the same. I love this. I think it's so cool. And you could see here, it looked like I was looking for some strange factors. Why on earth did I need a 30? Because this one was a 10. So it looked like maybe at the end, the two brackets wouldn't actually multiply to give me the right bit, but they did. And I think that's the fascinating bit. Also, because this one had a 3x squared at the start, it was obviously my brackets would have an x and an x, but to give me the 3x, again, it was quite straightforward that one of my brackets had to have the 3 in front of the x to make sure we actually got the right things in there. So I think, again, this is quite fascinating, and yeah, I just love it. If you do this in any other way, and I'm sure you do, please let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to know what other methods you use for this, because I find it fascinating to just like go over different methods. And yeah, I know this video is a bit on the longer side, but I hope it did help you understand what was happening and hopefully made you a bit more excited about it, because I am very excited about how nicely these two look. Just look at this. Just look at this. So beautiful from my point of view. But yeah, have a lovely day and I will speak to you soon. Bye.